JohnAge Project.
Trust no one. Trust no one. Trust no one.
You found it. You're here. You're headlong down the runaway train that is the AnomicAge, and I am your host, JohnAge. Happy to be back with you once again. I'm going to take you into the wee hours, or as I like to say, the dark side of the AM. We're sitting at the 23rd of September. What do we got? 11:47 Eastern Standard Time, so make no mistake about it, I will be taking you into the dark side of the AM. My favorite time. It's downright nice out here in the coastal plains of the old North States. I'll be your tour guide this evening as we take a somewhat satirical journey down the path of murder, destruction, mayhem, and the extermination of human life on this planet. A forced march into obsolescence thrust upon us by a global satanic death cult of pedophiles. Check out AnomicAge.com. If you can do no more, you can do that. Please like all the likes. Excuse me. Subscribe to all the subscriptions. PayPal.me/AnomicAge. Patreon.com/AnomicAge as well. Those are the best ways that you can help me out. Monetarily, that is. We got the Cash App, the Patreon, the Buy Me a Cup of Coffee, the Satoshis. No one's ever sent me any Satoshis. Which is all right, but it's bizarre. I don't know what I'd do with a Satoshi. I know it converts into U.S. currency somehow, but nevertheless, Patreon, preferred, PayPal, that's nice. Cash App, yes, please. Anyway, bottom line is if you scroll way down there at the bottom, you'll see all the freebies, the iPhone app, the Android app, the subscribe by email link, and so much more right there at AnomicAge.com. And if you're into shows with guests, we got 206 shows with guests. Lovely shows. Great shows. We're going to have some more guests soon. I promise. I know somebody out there is tapping their finger and saying, John, you've said that before. Get off your duff and do something, man. All right. I've done this solo gig kind of ever since my life went completely sideways. About 2 years ago, and I just love it. I love doing the solo gig, so somebody's going to have to talk me into pulling guests on again and dealing with that email and back and forth, and I can't make it today, even though it's 5 minutes before showtime, that stuff. Sounds good until you're doing it, and then it's just not. But nevertheless, I do love talking to some people, so I'm going to try to get into that frame again before we totally go belly up, I guess. You know what I mean? All right. Enough. Somebody's going, please get to the point, John. Alas, swallowing lies. That's the abso-smurfly title of tonight's episode. It's episode 485 of the Information Breakdown Variety. So 485 of the Information Breakdown Variety, and that's exactly what it is. We're going to talk about swallowing lies this evening. And if you've tuned into the last show, I'd say the last show and a half, because I've kind of covered a lot of these things for a couple of different shows now. But I'm going to kind of go in a vastly different direction this evening. So if you were just wanting me to sort of run down all the things that look conspicuously awry in this whole Charlie Kirk murder thing, feel free to reference the other aforementioned shows. But I'll do that a little bit this evening, but I'm not going to make a long diatribe out of it because I've already done it. So I'll kind of hit the highlight reels. We'll talk a lot about the memorial service more than anything this evening. But you know me, we're going to go deep into the pool. So don't forget your rubbers. As Bugs Bunny once said, don't forget your rubbers. We're going deep into the pool, folks. You might need a snorkel, maybe some goggles, some of them little fins. We're going to go a little bit deep dive this evening because it's one thing to cover all the things that are amiss, awry, and otherwise just downright fraudulent. But tonight we're also going to really delve into I'd say deeper into the pool. We're going to talk about how, in my humble opinion, this connects into rites of passage. We'll cover some famous dead guys. If you know me at all, I love talking about theorists, and by and large, famous dead guys. So we'll talk about rites of passage and just Americans longing for some sort of rite of passage, some sort of directional beacon out of this morass that we appear to be in as a culture, as a nation, as los Estados Unidos. So we'll cover all that. I mean, there's no shortage of things to get into, but there's me back. But that's the primer for what we're going to get into this evening. Hope you love the graphics. That's none other than yours truly. I tried to make it pill-shaped because I do believe that's kind of what a lot of people are following. They're following lies, folks. Lies. And it's really weird to me because somebody that's done this for a while, I've had this show for 5 years. I've been interested in this stuff for good grief. I don't even know how long. But I've been around this a time or 12, and it just befuddles me to see otherwise critical thinkers, folks that I would definitely have classified as, dare I say, alternative, alt-right, or downright conspiratorial. These folks seem to just be following the pablum, and it's just disheartening. So, once is happenstance, twice. How's that thing go? Once is happenstance, twice is coincidental, 3 times is not a lady. 3 times is enemy action. Blend a little Lionel Richie with a little reality, and you'll get enemy action. So it's either these people have just gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, they've been paid off, or maybe they're just longing for what I would suggest and will submit to you in tonight's bona fides as what people are just longing for. They're longing for something real. They're longing for something legitimate, something tangible that they can actually hold on to and maybe give one last caress. Little Misfits reference for those people that are a little dark side of the force. Anyway, so we'll delve into all that in a bag of chips tonight. That's really what I'm saying, folks. So hold on to your horseshoes. Okie dokie. So we will begin at the beginning, the best place, in my humble opinion, to usually start. So I think, like a lot of people, when this whole Charlie Kirk thing first popped off, I would say it was very much a reference point or referential to me to the 9/11 false flag. Because sort of like that first initial jolt, that first punch, if you will, everyone's kind of caught flat-footed. Everyone's just jolted backwards. And, to paraphrase Iron Mike Tyson, everybody's got a great game plan until they get punched in the face. And I think that's exactly what this was to everyone, unless you were in on the op, I would suppose. Or at least maybe if you were those 3 people that posted all over social media that something was coming when Charlie Kirk came to the Utah Valley, Utah Valley University. So, if you weren't in the know, I guess you were kind of caught flat-footed. So I reference back to 9/11 because I think most of us were in the same vein at that point in the game. The initial jolt was, holy shnikes, what's going on here? This is dreadful. This is terrible. Oh my gosh. You go through those shock and awe emotions, all the trauma-based mind control floods in, the dopamine drips, and the whole 9 yards. The fight or flight response kicks off. You get a little damp, a little sweaty, and you go, oh my, whatever shall we do? And then, as the drips and the drabs de la información begins to inundate your psyche, then hopefully everybody kind of takes a pause. They don't do the fight, they don't do the flight, and they don't sit there and pee on themselves. But hopefully they're doing perhaps the fourth of those. They're just stepping back, not putting any energy into it of the emotional variety, and trying to look at things objectively. Or at least that's what you should be doing. So that's kind of where I was into day 2 of the Charlie Kirk debacle. I mean, right from the jump, everything looked fishy as a fish house. If you're of the coastal plain, of course, of the old North State, you know what that's about. But a fish market, we'll just say. Maybe there's people that aren't of the coastal plain with the Old North State. So therein lies the problem. By about the end of that day, I went, this stinks. And it wasn't getting any better. Matter of fact, the more things went on, the stinkier it got, just like 9/11. And those of you of the boomer variety, I'm sure you'll be quick to reference the JFK, MLK, RFK, and so many more Ks taken out by the proverbial they. Right? So it didn't get any cleaner. It just got stinkier as things went by. I've made I don't say voluminous, but at least a pretty doggone good list here of things that just were stinky. I'll kind of start from the middle and work my way up. Because you see, I guess it was it 2 days after the event? I'll just reference things as the event or the PSYOP. The event, I believe it was the governor of Utah. He seems like a real jive turkey, but I digress. I believe it was him, could be mistaken. Someone came out looking a lot like him and said, "We've got our guy." And then Kash Patel and the FBI and everybody under the sun wanted to take credit for it. But alas, there was credit given to no one because no one cracked the case. There was no Sherlock Holmes involved in this whole shabacle. No Sherlock Holmes, no Magnum P.I., no Crockett, no Tubbs. Nobody broke this case, all right? So stop patting yourselves on the back. Makes you look stupid. So we've got our guy. What else we got that just looks stinky? Well, I'll try to go here. We got, as we know it now, they came out with footage of someone on the roof, someone running across the roof. But we were missing the key piece of the puzzle, someone shooting from the roof. So you kind of got to say, we're sitting at a very well-funded university. 2025, they got all kinds of cameras, but yet we don't seem to have any real footage of this guy taking a shot. That's peculiar, isn't it? Was he just out of camera range? Was it just like the Pentagon when the plane, the plane, hit the buildings, and we just can't seem to find footage of that anywhere. It's unbelievable. Kind of like the Las Vegas shooting where, once again, you're in a city surrounded and inundated with cameras. A lot of money going in and out of Vegas. Can't seem to get any real footage of that either. Man, it's peculiar, isn't it? So much like that, we've got the Charlie Kirk, I don't even know what to call this guy. Whatever the thing is on the roof, running across, but then you see the timeline and the running does not coincide with the shooting. So either this guy's running before, which is what the timeline suggests, the shooting pops off, or somebody just got their wires crossed. Maybe somebody was zigging when they should have zagged. But you see this guy running across the roof. And the quality of this, I swear to you, is on par with the Zapruder film. I've often messaged the Patterson-Gimlin film for Bigfoot. Coming out of California, I do believe there, the Patterson-Gimlin film. It looks on par with just as crappy as that. The problem is those things were done like 50 and 60 years ago, and this was done in 2025, where we are supposedly at our peak of technological prowess. Allegedly. Then we've got the drone footage that everyone wanted to quickly dismiss as a void, as if there's not drones that are disguised as birds and also mosquitoes and butterflies and everything else. But alas, we're supposed to say, oh no, it's just a drone. As it starts to ooze out, as the Golden Girls once said, as it all starts to ooze out, we're now familiar with the fact that there seem to be no less than 3 drones up in the air. But yet not a clear image anywhere. Doesn't it just strike you as odd? It just strikes me as odd, I tell you. What else we got in this mug? Let me run it down for you because I wrote these down. We got no gunshot residue analysis, apparently. If there is, we don't know about it. That's just basic old gunshot residue where they put some luminol on there and say, aha, look, it resonates with the powder, and look, your hands have it on there. You fired a weapon recently. Heaven's sakes, they do this at the airport, for Pete's sakes. They'll do a little quick impromptu GSR before you get on the plane. Make sure you ain't got something on you, I guess. I was sweating that one day because I was like, oh, shoot, I shot recently. This is the bag up. Oh, my goodness, shot at the range, not, in some sort of precarious position at the aeropuerto. No. Anyway, so we got no gunshot residue. We got no DNA analysis. What else we got? We got no prints. Even Bernard P. Fife would make a plaster moulage. We got no moulage going on. We got somebody running on the roof. I'd be willing to bet you there's rocks on that roof, folks. It's usually pea gravel. But, what do I know? Usually pea gravel, but alas, we got no moulage. Nothing. We got at least 3 Fall Guys. Exactly. No, not Colt Seavers from the great Fall Guy. Don't watch that remake BS. That stuff's nothing but beat to death. Watch the real deal Holyfield Fall Guy. Lee Majors. They want to know. Anyway. Yeah, we got several Fall Guys. Excuse me, I'm about to sneeze. I'm not having a fit or something. We got the one Fall Guy. What was that boob's name? Ken or Lynn? I had it written down, and then I just took it away, I swear. Zen, there we go. We got Zen. We got Zen, the same boob that was allegedly at the false flag Boston Marathon bombing, the false flag 9/11 attacks, which will make him 2 out of 3. What you want to bet he's at a false flag? Well, I'm just asking. I don't got answers. I'm just wondering. Since old Zen seems to just be like the traveling Wilbury of false flags here in America, what you think this is? I'm just asking. I ain't telling you. I'm asking you. To quote the great Dead Kennedy's Jello Biafra. I'm just asking, folks. Just asking. Anyway, so he's the initial patsy. He's playing the Lee Harvey role. Or I guess I would say he was playing the Lee Harvey role until, of course, we pop up with Tyler Robinson. So we got old Zen getting escorted out saying, shoot me. Okay. Thankfully, there wasn't a Jack Ruby, or what was his real name? I think Jack Rubenstein. Pero por qué? Raise eyebrows, ask questions. Anyway, so nobody Jack Rubenstein, old Zen. I guess that's good. Then we had another guy that apparently had a BB gun. I showed this, I think, 4 shows ago. Video breakdown of this, where he appeared to have a BB gun. Looked like it had a suppressor on it and a shoulder sling. Don't ask me how you get a suppressor on a BB gun. I don't know how that works. I think the BB gun makes no sound in the first place. It goes like poof. Don't even go poof. It goes like poof. I don't even know. I'm just saying. I got a Red Ryder around here somewhere. It's not that loud. Anyway, bottom line is we got that other patsy. And then there was a third patsy, which someone else mentioned. I didn't even see him, but I did cross-check it, and yet it seemed to be a third patsy on the scene too. So we got 3 diversionary tactics thrown out there. Okay? I won't pretend to be a soldier because I'm not. But I did play a lot of Army when I was a kid, and I would know a little something about a diversionary tactic myself. I'm sure the fellas out there probably all played this. These are the Gen X variety anyway. And the boomers perhaps. But, it's like hide and seek with guns, basically. Don't worry, fake guns. Don't worry. I know somebody's about to have a heart attack. Like, oh my God, they have yellow tips or orange tips. No, that was back before everybody was a wiener, so they didn't even have orange tips on them. It was beautiful. But I digress. We would roll around the neighborhood, hide in the woods, and play with what, by all practical purposes, appeared to be real weapons. And no one got hurt, and no one got arrested, no one got stopped. There was no Karens yelling out of their front porch. It was just good fun. But I digress. When I did play war as a youth, sometimes I would throw out a diversionary tactic. Oh, no. When we were about to break and everybody was going to hide, I'd say, hey, I think I'm going to hide over here, and sort of lean into where I was going to hide into. Or if I was real smart, I'd grab me some acorns or maybe some small rocks, get myself in a nice hiding place, and as I saw my would-be assailants coming, I'd throw some rocks quietly and stealthy-like, in another direction. That would be a diversionary tactic. You want to go all Sun Tzu's Art of War, appear strong when you are weak and weak when you are strong. Yeah, that's a diversionary tactic too. This ain't rocket science here, folks. So we got no less than 3 personas. Yeah, they're patsies, all right. Allegedly, anyway. Then what? Then we got Tyler Robinson. And I was thinking along these same lines as myself. I was listening to little Stu Peters late last night, or I guess you could say early this morning. He brought this up, and I went, aha, I'm not the only one that's thinking this. I got to sit here and wonder, pontificate to myself. Is Tyler Robinson even a legitimate living person? Again, I'm not telling you, I'm asking you. Tyler Robinson, is he a legit person? Is he a live, flesh and blood human? I'm just wondering, folks, because this whole thing stinks. So Tyler Robinson, the alleged perpetrator in this whole shenbog. Here's what we are supposedly being told. Again, there's no confirmation. There's no coming out of anything on this. I couldn't even tell you if this guy is actually in prison, right? I couldn't tell you any more than Ghislaine Maxwell's in prison. I ain't doing a bed check on these people. I don't know. I'm taking the word of the government. And you know how far I believe that. I know how far you should believe that. If you do, check your pulse, man. Maybe just step back from this thing a little bit. So old Tyler Robinson, yeah. He was allegedly coming from a staunch conservative family. I've heard so many different tales of this. I don't know what to believe, folks. His dad was a sheriff. His dad was a law enforcement. I don't have any stinking clue what his dad was. In my humble opinion, the more I look at this thing, his dad was a handler. Just saying. No verification. I'm just using my pontification. Maybe a little discernment on the side, you know. So yeah. Old Tyler come from a conservative family. And this is the funny of all funnies, in my humble opinion, because everybody was so quick to blame. I would too, because it's a scumhole. I've said on this show 100,000 times, K through 12 indoctrination, college university weaponization. This is something I know a whole lot about, but I ain't going to get into it on this thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, K through 12 indoctrination, college university weaponization. Everyone was so quick to pull the rug out from under this whole thing and go, oh my gosh, it's the universities. And rightly so. They are cesspits. They're indoctrination centers, folks. Don't send your kids there. It's like sending them to the Moloch camp or something. Might as well send your kids to Bohemian Grove on holiday or something, man. Just don't do that. It's stupid. But I digress. So everyone was quick to say, aha, he was indoctrinated by those liberal fruit bats. Of course, everyone would think that, right? It's the logic. But alas, as it all starts to ooze out, old Tyler, he only went to La Universidad for one semester, okay? One semester. So I can attest to you that the university system is fouled up from the floor up. But I will also say, one semester probably ain't going to make you that crazy. It's usually many, many semesters of the indoctrination process. So I ain't saying it couldn't happen, but I am saying I doubt it completely, heavily. If he was to be the person he's alleged to being, this staunch conservative family coming from the right and shooting guns with dear old papa and the like, if that were true, and he even had like an inkling of backbone, even just a dash of temerity, I do not think he would be indoctrinated in what would be like not even 6 months, maybe like 4 and some change after you go to all the holidays and such. I just ain't buying it. So he drops out after basically 4 months of school, 5 months tops. Comes back. Everybody was like, he was an engineer. No, he wasn't. He went to freaking one semester of university. It's kind of like when you talk to a kid and they're like, I want to be a veterinarian. I want to be a soldier. I want to be an astronaut. That does not a soldier, veterinarian, or astronaut make. You actually have to go through the whole process, come out the other side, and then, then you could claim that. But no, he wasn't an engineer. He went to one stinking semester of university. Okay, I ain't buying this whole thing like he was manifested, corrupted, and just otherwise assailed into being an evil commie tranny chaser in just a few months. No, ain't buying it. What else we got? Oh my goodness, there's so much to this whole thing. Candace Owens, my gracious goodness sakes alive. She's taken a whole lot of flack, heat, and otherwise disparaging comments, shells even in the last few days, especially, and definitely weeks here. You know, I don't know what to say about old Candace. I don't know this lady. I know what you can read about her. She, you know, married a quite wealthy person from across the pond. Definitely started her career as some sort of doxing site and then rolled into this conservatism bent that she's in now. I can't speak to anything about her. Is she getting all kinds of government monies to push a narrative? Is she getting monies from El Esposo? I don't know. I just don't know. Other things people are quick to point out with old Candace is the hand signs. She appeared to be making hand signs. It's the scary. Let me go big screen because somebody's gonna freak out. It's the scary train. Everybody wants to sit and just hold their hands like this. I'm gonna sit and hold my hands like that forever. I'm gonna man spread and hold my hands in freaky Illuminati triangles, just hoping, I guess, that I'll get some of that money. I don't know. Anyway, so we got Charlie Kirk and Candace both making freaky hand signs. What to make of it, I don't know. I'll leave that for you to decide whether or not she's on the level, whether Charles was on the level. I can't speak to him. I don't know these people, man. It's a little funny. Not funny gay, funny haha. You know what I'm saying? Sling blade. So I don't know, man. I don't know what to think of Candace. But I will say, she seems to be the only person in media. Well, I can't say that. All right, she seems to be the primary mover in media right now that's even pretending to question the narrative. Just pretending to question. Even if she's not, she's at least trying to question the narrative. Everybody else on the right, the alt-right, anything in between seems to go with, we got our guy. It's him. He's right there. He's in jail now, I guess. If he's even real. I don't even think he is, man. I don't know. I mean, these same questions could be and should have been asked with the alleged Sandy Hook incident. Woo. Can we even talk about it? I don't think so. I mean, I don't have anything close to AJ money, so I don't think anybody's coming after me. But anyway, yeah, the same questions were posed with the Sandy Hook. And a lot of these other shootings and false flags is what I'll call them as well. So you got to ask yourself, especially, is any of this even legitimate? I'm not saying the guy didn't die. I'm saying, is the alleged assailant even real? Other people want to go down the rabbit hole of squibs and the guy's not dead. He's in, I don't know where. He's in Hawaii. He's hanging out with the real Erica Kirk. I don't flipping know, folks. It just all stinks. It all stinks to high heavens. So hats off for Candace for at least acknowledging that you should question the narrative. I mean, everybody else is going, the government's lied to us for over 80 years. They've always run false flags and ops. But I'm going to buy it this time. It's like the most weird, unanalytical, uncritical, just unhuman thing to question all narratives all the time. I mean, that, again, these are the same folks, rightly so, that came out during the COVID hoax and said, that's not real science. You always have to question theories. You always have to be able to replicate your data sets across different studies. If you can't, it ain't science. So say the same with this, folks. You've always got to question your narrative. You've always got to question your hypothesis. You do not take anything at face value. You let the evidence speak for itself. And if it doesn't speak for itself, it is not true. Okay? So we can all take a glass of water and put it in the freezer, and provide that freezer is about 32 degrees, it's going to freeze in a couple hours. It don't matter if you are in Bangkok, if you're in Portugal, or if you're in Israel. You should all be able to freeze water at the same temperature, roughly. A little bit of fluctuation based on altitude, but not too much. Anyway, I'm not going on to a science class here. We're going to stick to the topics at hand. So some of the things that Candace has pointed out and other people have pointed out, my gracious goodness, it's obvious that you should always question the narrative. Always check all the evidence. So that being said, we don't have any evidence. We have no evidence. We have his dad or his handler bringing him in as this is the guy. We don't know who the dad is. We don't know where the dad worked. We've also got a pastor involved. We don't know who the pastor is. We don't know where the pastor worked. I believe there was a third person involved in turning in old Tyler. We don't have any information on that whatsoever. None. We've got this asinine set of alleged text messages going back and forth between Tyler and his tranny lover. Like the Judas Priest Turbo Lover song. I guess in this case it's tranny lover. Anyway, so if you're believing any of that, I hate to tell you, that's not smart. Those messages look about as legitimately coming from someone in their early 20s as them writing the Declaration of Independence. You know, it's not the same type of speak. It's not the same vernacular. It ain't the same cadence to the language. It ain't nothing like anyone that's a 22-year-old person, I do believe, is going, dude, that's just not possible. It's stupid. And then they came out again and were like, oh, no, we've got more evidence. We're like, they said the first text was like a compilation or basically a transcription of what was said. Not the real deal Holyfield, but just like, we just threw some words together that kind of sounded like what was said. You know, like, what the? Okay, that makes perfect sense. It doesn't sound like any 22-year-old I've ever met, but what the hey? Sounds like Fed speak. And then they come out with like a second set of text that's, again, supposed to answer all questions so that you don't ask any more. It's like, I got the gun from my granddad. I hope it's not going to be messed up. He's going to be upset. What? And then we've got two different versions of the rifle. Now we've got a Mauser 30-06 that's allegedly not traceable. But I guess it's so old, it's like a World War II era, not traceable. Sure. If you think any gun is not traceable, you don't know anything about ballistics whatsoever. But I digress. So then you've had, it's now a Mauser. For about a week now, they've been showing you a synthetic stock Remington in a box that was allegedly wrapped in a towel in a box that he took down, broke down, you know, pick a bale of cotton on the roof and then did it all over again on the ground. And oh, by the way, he jumped off the roof with a rifle that wouldn't fit in a backpack and it flopped when you saw him land. And don't worry about that either. It's just like inconsistency after inconsistency after inconsistency. And oh, by the way, he also like limped up onto the roof with a rifle in his pants. This causes so many jokes. I'm not even going to make them right here. Okay. All right. I don't have a Mauser nor Remington full barrel 30-06. But back to that Red Ryder BB gun that I do have. That's all I have is the Red Ryder. I guarantee you, I could not put that in my pants and take it anywhere. And it's a kid's rifle. It's not full anything. It's a flipping Red Ryder. You couldn't even sneak a Red Ryder into anything. Not unless you were wearing some of those crazy Jinko pants from the mid-90s, perhaps. Some of those skate pants from the 90s, maybe. I had some of those skate pants, but, you know, different time, different era. Even so, I could not sneak my Red Ryder up onto the roof without looking like the Hunchback of Notre Dame trying to pull that off. And anybody with even a filament, a modicum, a tiny little minuscule particle of intelligence, seeing anybody do that would go, hey, buddy, what the heck is wrong with you? You got a rifle in your pants? You're just happy to see me. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just completely bonkers. So that whole narrative is, in my humble opinion, nothing but nonsense. And I was trying to think of, you know, like a pop cultural movie example for this. And I wrote down The Manchurian Candidate, which could be true with old Tyler here. But there's another film that I think less people know about, but they should. They should know about this movie. It's called The Parallax View. It's a great 70s movie. I'm a huge 70s movie fan. So full disclosure, I'm always going to give you a weird 70s movie reference, most likely. But The Parallax View, great movie. I cannot think of the guy that's starring in that. Oh, my goodness. He was... Oh, man, I was about to say something bad. Warren Beatty, I believe. Is that right? I think so. Anyway, Parallax View, well worth watching. It's basically a guy who thinks he's going there to stop an assassination, ends up getting framed for it. So, you don't know, man. I don't even know. Again, I don't even know if Tyler Robinson is a real person. Would not even begin to hazard a guess to the validity of his existence, folks. This is just like all the other quote-unquote shooters that have been on the scene in the last few. No social media presence at all. Of course not. He's 22 years old. He's a guy, and he's got no social media presence at all. Of course not. Why would you? And then this week, they've even shown footage from, I think it was about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years. Don't quote me on this. When he was, I guess, involved in an accident or pulled over for a ticket or what have you, and it's body cam footage from a police officer interacting with the alleged shooter. I pointed this out on the last show. Nobody's been able to cross-check me on this one. Every picture, he seems to have the same outfit on. Yeah, I mean, that works if you're Shaggy and Scooby-Doo. You know, he's got the same outfit on in every show. But if you're actually a living human, it doesn't make sense to always have on a burgundy short-sleeve shirt, some loose-fitting jeans, a black hat, and have your sunglasses on the rim of the hat every time. It just seems very bizarre. But what do I know? You know, it seems very fishy to me. Anyway, I'm not sure where I was going with that. Those are some pretty good movies that are kind of similar. Parallax View, it's what I would recommend, perhaps more so than Manchurian Candidate. I don't necessarily think he was a Manchurian Candidate a la the RFK shooter, Sirhan Sirhan. That's pretty cut and dry, Manchurian Candidate. Even the John Lennon shooter and the would-be assassin to Reagan, I think they would all be part and parcel, very Manchurian Candidate-esque. But this guy... Like I said, I don't even know if he's a real guy. Couldn't tell you. Could not tell you, folks. Couldn't tell you. So that's why you see on your screen these lovely images, because I think each one of these, and I could have done about 50 of them, look like the pills that people are all too happy to swallow, much like the pablum that I've mentioned in the previous episode. Just like Pavlovian swallowing it hook, line, and sinker. They gave it to us. Yep, I'm buying it. I don't care what you say. I'll believe it every day because the government told me that. You know, it's just so bizarre, man. What else did we find out? I've covered this on the previous show also, but I'll cover this one more time, is the trap door. The trap door that's underneath the chair that Charlie Kirk was on, in essence. So we got the trap door and the classic for any government op, 9/11 and the heavily alleged, shooting of Trump in Pennsylvania. We're just taking out the crime scene immediately. I mean, this one should have drawn the ire of everyone, folks. This was a huge news event. Everybody was glued to their proverbial screens, just like 9/11 here. But what were some of the obvious things that were missing? That'd be crime scene tape anywhere at the crime scene. Instead, just like when the FBI was washing off the roof when supposedly the gunman was on the roof in Pennsylvania that shot Trump, allegedly. You know, the same guy with no social media footprint, and we've heard absolutely nothing about this person since then. It was just roll it up. It's done. Nothing to see here, folks. It's a wrap. Moving on. Makes sense yet? Not to me. So just like in the Pennsylvania situation, we're cleaning up the crime scene immediately. We're cleaning up the crime scene so much, we ain't even call it a crime scene, I guess, because there's no crime scene tape anywhere. There's some boob stealing hats. The cop doesn't even snatch this hat from this boob, tackle this guy to the ground, put him into nice little bracelets, and put him in the back of the car. No, he just goes about his business, I guess. We got allegedly one of the tech guys for Charlie Kirk taking, obviously, something out of the camera. We got a camera in the front. We got a camera in the back. We got no footage from either one of them. Probably the best footage that you could have in this sort of incident. We got no footage. Forget about it. Oh, did I mention they are paving over with pavers the crime scene? Yeah, they've scraped the crime scene with a front end loader, and now they've put pavers down over the crime scene. I guess the non-existent crime scene, because there was never any crime scene tape. There was never anybody actually policing the crime scene. Otherwise, we wouldn't have people stealing from the camera. We wouldn't have people stealing from the freaking hats, from the merch section, stealing stuff from the merch at the crime scene. What a bunch of low-class filth. But don't worry, I guess it wasn't a crime scene. So, nothing to see here, is it? No crime scene. Okay. Someone really wanted to touch on this, so here goes. I've already addressed the coffin scene with his wife, Erica. That looked suspect from the jump. I'm going to speak to the fellas on this one because I'm not saying that women are all emotional and they don't have discernment or they don't have higher mental faculties and they can't, pick out a curveball from a fastball. I'm not saying that. Yes, I am referencing the two guys in the back using hand signals. Of course I am. I'm not talking about that either. So for me, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Go ahead and unsubscribe and just quit watching this if you want to. I do believe that the men folk tend to be less emotional. They tend to be less sucked in because the females are easily pulled into the emotional jag of all this. They can identify with the wife. They identify with the death of the husband. They identify with all the hoopla surrounding this, and they empathize and sympathize and become one with this whole thing. And they are easier to trick into this parasocial relationship, like I mentioned several shows back. The parasocial, a.k.a. talking about this, any sort of celebrity like they're your real friend. Even though you've never met them, you don't know them, all you know is the caricature or character that they're portraying to you on the screen. But the vast majority of the American public, like, oh, I love Magnum P.I. It's not Magnum. It's Tom Selleck. You love the character that Tom Selleck played in the late 70s throughout the mid to early 80s. That's Tom Selleck playing the role of Thomas Magnum. They're different people, but people identify with whatever version of the self that they latch onto, and it becomes an emotional attachment. It becomes an emotional contagion, in case you didn't watch the last 3 shows. So I said from the jump, this whole thing with the coffin just looks stinky, man. It looks real, real stinky. I don't care who you are. I don't care what era you're in. I know he's a public figure and everybody posts everything from their bowel movements, how much sleep they got, how much they didn't get, to what they ate for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and where they ate it. Everybody is just suffused with the imbecilic posting. Got it. But in my humble opinion, if you just lost a loved one about, 3 days ago, you don't then go online and post a image and video of you mourning the death of your spouse over the casket. And I'm sorry, I've been around some dead bodies in my day, and that don't look like a normal dead body hand. If that's the way, try to be nice. If that's the way that the funeral parlor attendants, the embalmers, if that's the best they got, man, you need to get some money back or something, because that's just, it looks fishy. That whole exchange looks fishy. So I watched a good deal of this memorial service the other day. Full disclosure, no, I did not watch the whole thing. No, I didn't. I know somebody's breaking out into tears. I didn't watch the whole thing. How can you talk about it? Oh. No, I didn't. Sorry. I have a life. So I didn't watch the whole thing. But I got a whole lot of questions on this too. So this whole thing was paid for by Turning Point. It's what I found anyway. And they apparently, allegedly, put this whole thing together in like 8 days. We're talking from death to memorial in 8 days. I'm not saying it couldn't be done. I'm just saying I got questions. That's a whole lot of planning. This ain't like you just planning a daggone birthday party for your 5-year-old here. This is a lot of planning, folks. We had well over 100,000 people there. I think 100,000 were inside or outside combined. I'm saying we had well over 100,000 people there, however you want to slice it, dice it, or julienne it. Okay? Other questions that I had, things that were bothering me, would be the entire production of this whole thing. We had an AI Charlie Kirk talking. What? We had just like production value. I know I'm not the first one to say this, but on par with some sort of WWF events. I ain't going to say WWE. That's whack. WWF for me, it always has been, always will be. But I digress. Looks like something on par with that, man. Complete with pyrotechnics, which I found completely repulsive. Who in the devil's going to have a memorial, and have pyrotechnics at it? That's just weird, man. Evil Knievel maybe, but I don't even think so, man. Come on. All kinds of big screens. I'm grateful that they didn't have somebody doing sign language up there. Nothing ticks me off more than people doing sign language. Hate me if you want to, I don't care. Hate the sign language people. This is a harbinger primarily of the imbecilic left, a.k.a. the commie fruit bats. But I'm trying to do better and not name call. So I'm just going to say, I cannot stand, I loathe with every fiber of my being the hand signal people. I mean, no, not the two guys in the back of the Charlie Kirk assassination, clearly signaling to steal third or swing away. I ain't talking about them. I'm talking about the people that do sign language. That is the most idiotic thing I've ever seen. I don't know the stats on what percentage of the population is deaf, but it is not enough to warrant somebody doing this kind of mess, signaling a plane to land and stuff, wanting a crane to lower the boom. No, I mean, that is ridiculous. We have closed captioning, folks. We're not in the 1940s. They didn't do this in the 1940s because our country was not a weak cesspool of fungus. So please, stop. Anyway, so thankfully they didn't have the hand signal sign language people there. Thank goodness. But you did have the flames. You had the sparklers. I mean, it was pyrotechnic city out there. You had Trump coming out to sparklers, and you had La Esposa, Erica Kirk, coming out to sparklers. Found that very, very odd. Muy extraña. That, again, is not something that you're going to see at any mourning, wake, funeral, or anything that I've ever seen. Okay, other things as that all oozed out that I found particularly perplexing, if not downright vexing, is Erica Kirk coming out, talk about her parents were divorced, and her mom, I'm going to read it from an interview she gave here, involved with the government, Homeland Security, and Department of Defense? What? Again, tap me if this is you or your family, because it's not me, my family, nor anyone I've ever been around's family. That's just not normal procedure. It's just not. It's not. I'll put this on the screen from the, let me see here. There we go. Whoopsie. I'll put that on the screen for you. This is Jack Posobiec. I'll give you the quote. You don't need to hear him. A century from now, when they write of the pivotal moment that saved Western society, they will write that the sacrifice of Charles James Kirk was the turning point. Excuse me, what? The sacrifice? Does that sit odd with anybody, or is it just me? The sacrifice of Charles James Kirk. Maybe it's just me. Call me crazy. I think that's a little crazy myself. If I get taken out, I don't want somebody talking about the sacrifice of JohnAge. That's just weird, man. The linguistics there is differente. Some other stuff that I found completely compelling and otherwise nauseating throughout this whole melange was the ever so subtle neurolinguistic programming. They kept referring to the assassin, the person that did this, basically everything except saying, Tyler Robinson, the guy that did this, They were setting it up. They were narrowing the scope, saying, we got our guy, basically, once again. And what is it now? Utah saying, oh, we could use a firing squad again. Woo! Okay, again. You're dehumanizing the perp. You're doing the NLP, the neurolinguistic programming on the populace, basically saying that's our guy. Whether or not you want to believe it or not, the shooter, the guy that we got in custody, the assassin, the assailant, all this subtle wording is just pushing that narrative a little bit more. Don't you know? I forgot to even cover this, but the optics on the stupid rifle would not even function. He would have had a black eye. I'm just keep giving you more and more and more. The ballistics that we've seen over the past 3 days, every expert under the sun saying, yo, you get hit with a 30-06 round in the place he got hit, it's darn near going to decapitate you, if not fully decapitate you from your spinal column. Yep. It just keeps getting more bizarre. What else we got? We got Miss Erica Kirk. And somebody's going to say, John, you're being a disparaging jerk. We don't want anything to do with you, man. Okay. I'm not being disparaging. I'm being real with you. So we already know this. Miss Erica Kirk, allegedly, while she was just chilling in Arizona with Mum, got a letter requesting that she needs to be in a beauty pageant. Yeah, she needs to be in Miss USA. Who's behind the whole pageant thing? It's DJT, Donald John Trump, of course. Just like Charlie Kirk's dad, one of the lead architects on Trump Tower, of course. All this stinks, folks. I'm just telling you how I feel here. So, yeah, she's just chilling at the crib, gets a letter in the mail saying, you look so ravishing. Why don't you just think about being in Miss USA pageant? And then somehow she gets all down to the wire and she's a finalist in this thing. How does that ever, ever, ever work, folks? That's like every story you've ever heard. I was found working at a gas station and I became the next great big actor, I was in a music store, stacking vinyl and they swooped me up and I became the next big thing. But it just seems like the biggest bunch of hockey I've ever heard. Oh, in case you missed it, what else? She was a talent scout. Let's pull this up. Take it off. Yep, she was a talent scout. But wait, there's more because, what's this one? Oh, come on. Where is it, John? There we go. She's an influencer. She's a model and an actress. How bizarre. Indeedly do. How bizarre. So she went on to work for DJT as a talent scout, and allegedly she's an actress too. My gracious goodness, what you gonna do? It's just weird, folks. It really is weird. Do we have more on this? I know I do, man. I don't want to give you too much, but at some point you need too much sometimes. Here's a picture again. This is from my Twitter feed if you want to follow me. So many people have already said this, talking about the M and the G. People are linking that to Masonic lore with the G in between the compass and so forth. I don't know. I'm just saying it's kind of stinky. It's like this, folks. It's either you're down with that kind of mess or you want people to think you're down with that kind of mess. You know what I mean? It's like those people that pretend to be in a gang or something because they want all that street cred until they actually get rolled up on by a gang and they're like, oh, jeepers, I shouldn't have done this. I think that's the case with a lot of people, with a lot of people in in Hollywood. Either they want to be in the alleged Illuminati, or they actually are, you know? So, I mean, somebody's going to say, oh, that's just her jewelry. It's so beautiful. Oh, my God. You go, girl. Go, queen, or whatever horse pucky people say. I'm just saying it looks very suspicious. I don't know why you would have all that gaudy, ugly crap on. I really don't. It just stinks. The whole thing just stinks. Have we got time for a little more? Of course we do. This one, I don't know if you can read it or not. This is the UVU. In case you missed it, UVU offers a degree in national security. What? Yeah. So, guess you can get your degree in national security there from UVU. Oh, my gracious goodness sakes, love. The tears. I didn't even talk about the tears. I don't even want to pull that up there again, but there's all kinds of evidence that I would suggest, I'll just say would suggest, I don't want hate mail or freaky conservatives coming to my house, that this lady's not even crying. I don't know what else to say. It just looks as phony as a $3 bill. It really does. The more you look at it, the worse it gets. Here, we'll put this one on the screen again. What the hey? That's one of the main images that everybody's pointing to. And it's like, there ain't a tear on that girl's face. Actress, she might, maybe not an actress. As I've said before, folks, I just don't know. All right, somebody's tapping their locket or their watch here, their pocket watch, and they're going, man, you got to land the plane, John. You got to put the wheels on the runway here, buddy. Well, I should, but I got a lot more to cover, so we'll just see. The deal is, folks, I can actually understand and appreciate this very sort of like knee-jerk reaction that people are having to this. And it's because our society is so fouled up. That's really the deal. We are so fouled up as a society. And I'll kind of link this into a few different studies. But we're so fouled up because we are longing for the America we grew up in. We're longing for Americana. A Gen Xer myself, I long daily for the 80s. A beautiful time. Lovely. The boomers are longing for some time even before that, folks. But in general, I'd say the Gen X would be the cutoff. Those people are longing for a past that no longer exists. And I think the people that are beyond that, the Zoomers, the whatever you want to call them, they're longing for that identity that was very much shaped by these different cultural events. Let me give you some por ejemplos here. So the boomers will probably be the first to say that they were mostly shaped by the JFK assassination. Depends on who you talk to. A lot of people that were vets are going to say it was that Vietnam experience. I ain't taking anything away from that. I'm saying the JFK assassination is one of those cornerstones, a definite mile marker in the country that a lot of people from that era are always going to point at and say, that is when everything went bluey. That's when everything changed. And I am not arguing otherwise. Likewise, I'd say the people in that Gen X variety will be quick to point to 9/11 as when everything went bluey. Everything changed. I talked about this ad nauseum on the show, post 9/11 world. You know, the whole thing. It changed, folks. It absolutely changed. It might have been 2001, and I remember the times very well. Everyone was clamoring and talking all about the Mayan calendar and 2000, everything's going to hell. You know, that was kind of the mantra of the day. And who can forget the computers are all going to shut down. It's all going to, you know where it's going. So I would submit to you that perhaps was something along those lines, although a little bit more subtle. Because we really did enter into a new world, a new age, a different paradigm. I would even suggest to you, maybe we went through some sort of portal, a portal to hell. Oh, King of the Hill, Hank's telling, what was he telling all of his friends, I think, but specifically Dale, my garage is actually the portal to hell. Yeah, I do believe that maybe 2000 was the portal to hell. We just didn't realize the little handbasket we were in until about September 11th, 2021. But even in that time, one thing I heard quite often from everybody, at least in my demographic, was, it's this generation's JFK. Oh, it's this generation's JFK. And I think to a big degree, we long for identity as a people. We really, really want to cling to something. We want to have something to cling to. Identity-wise, something that shapes us as a culture, as a people. I've often mentioned on this show many, many times that culture is what we do around here. It's how we do it and what we do. It's true. But more than anything, we want something I'm going to talk about in a minute, something called communitas. We want a communitas moment, a moment that brings us all together. It galvanizes the troops, if you will. In this case, galvanizes the country around a common interest, a common goal, or in this instance, it was a common enemy. And it's always predicated on a false flag. If you look at the Spanish-American War with the sinking of the Maine, galvanized support for the Spanish-American War. Sinking of Lusitania, galvanized support to get into World War I, and of course Pearl Harbor, that false flag giving you all the justification, aka credence you might need to get into World War II. So all these different things became culturally shaping moments, communitas fostering, and definitely galvanizing that sense that we're all one, man. We're all just one, bro. So the term communitas comes from a guy named Victor Turner. He worked a lot with what he was referring to as structure and anti-structure. And I would submit to you that we are definitely in a very structured society, whether or not we want to admit it or not. But in that communitas, it is sort of a wafting breeze of anti-structure. It's anti-structure in the sense, and this is what Victor Turner would probably argue, although I'm not him, he's dead. He would argue that during communitas, everyone is stripped of their previous positions in life, of their castes, if you will, and they are all, to quote Sergeant Hartman in Full Metal Jacket, you're all equally worthless. So that's kind of what that communitas brings. So for me, it's real easy to kind of look back at times in my life, and that's why people go to see shows, or I guess the normies would say concerts. The folks into punk and hardcore like myself, it was a show. So during the show, best case scenario, you're down front, you're out there with all your friends, people you just met, people you're about to meet, people that might help you up, people that might push you down. But it's a beautiful moment of what Victor Turner would call communitas. You are all equally worthless. And it's a really special moment because I can remember I was in high school and remember thinking there's several shows, like you're down front and you're stuck in the stuff. I quoted the wrong band last time. It's Caught in the Mosh by Anthrax. I thought it was Testament. I was mistaken. Caught in the Mosh, as Anthrax sings it. But you are indeed caught in the mosh. You're down front. You're really not going anywhere. You can't get out if you had to, and you're kind of stuck in the mosh. But it's a beautiful moment where simultaneously you think you're about to die, and you want the show to end like 5 minutes ago, but at the same time, it's this beautiful moment of peace, serenity, and one with all around you. And all the musical tones are hitting, and it's almost like a euphoric state. It's communitas, folks. It's what Victor Turner would say. It's communitas. So Victor Turner was talking about things I've talked about on this show many times, is rites of passage. The Victor Turner anthropologist, Arnold van Gennep, anthropologist, van Gennep, German, Victor Turner, from Britain, but they were looking at the same things. They were looking at rites of passage. They were looking primarily at how different cultures across the world would go from one stage of life to another, whether that's from childhood, adolescence into adulthood, or even whether that's from adulthood, old age, and into death. There's always a rite of passage in place. And I mentioned old Sergeant Hartman Full Metal Jacket because if you look at going through boot camp, that's absolutely a rite of passage. As Victor Turner was talking about communitas, Arnold Van Gennep, was talking about the three phases of the rites of passage. The preliminal, the liminal, and the postliminal, or as the normies might say, separation, transition, and reintegration. Communitas happens in that liminal state, or the transitional state. So Victor Turner was really looking at this structure, anti-structure, and he was saying, okay, during that liminal period when everybody's equally worthless, people are experimenting with new things, they're trying to figure out who they are. He even mentioned the dreaded sexuality in there too. Ooh. Anyway, that's really what was going on, folks. It's rites of passage. It's separation, transition, reintegration. It's communitas in el centro. In the middle, you got communitas. And we long for that spiritual connection. It's an artificial spiritual connection. It's not the spiritual connection we're talking about with God. We're talking about that sort of prefab. It's not organic. It's organic in a sense because it's going on with the music and the show and all that, or it's going on in boot camp, or it's going on as you transition from university to a graduate and so forth. So there is that organic nature of it, but it's not organic in the true spiritual sense of having a revelatory moment with Christ or anything like that. So that's why I throw the caveat there. It's kind of it's artificial, but not. It's kind of a weird liminal state. But people long for that connection. That's what I'm really trying to get at. That's why people go to concerts. That's why people do things of the drug variety. And we're talking especially the hallucinogenics. We're microdosing, man. Those low-class garbage. But people are always trying to get to that liminal state. They're always trying to get to that synthetic or organic state where they feel equally worthless, where they feel at one with their cohorts, their group, their subculture, their microculture. A lot of culture tonight. I know. Somebody's already turned this off, but away with you. So I think that's kind of what people are longing for with this whole thing. It really is. Man, I'm tempted to go real deep into the pool here. I don't know if we can handle it. We're at 1 hour and 7 minutes. We got a little time, don't we? Everybody all right? You all right in the chats over there? You all right in the crowd? The crew? Good. If you're not all right, then tough turkey. We're going to go anyway. Yeah, is he still going? Of course I am. Yes, I am. So what else we got to talk about tonight is a little Harry Harlow experiments. This guy was a psychologist. He was working with primates, so he was kind of moonlighting as a primatologist. But I think this is going to connect some dots here into what you were talking or thinking about, perhaps. So as culturally, I think we're going through a rite of passage right now. And the Harry Harlow experiments, what he was doing is he was looking at nature, he was looking at nurture, and how these offspring of primates, these little macaques and rhesus monkeys, they wanted to be with dear old mom. So they kidnapped these monkeys and they took them away from mom, which is, I guess, if you want to give the tip to Harry Harlow with saying, yo, he actually did something. But I think we all knew this all along. That primates, just as in humans, we long for that mother bond as infants and children. So Harry Harlow took the monkeys away from dear old mom, and he gave them a few different substitutes. They would cling to a wire cage until they had a choice between the wire cage and the wire. It wasn't a cage. It was like a mesh fake monkey. Shock the monkey. It was a mesh monkey. And then when given the choice, they would cling to the mesh monkey that had basically a bath mat wrapped around it. Scary looking stuff. It really was. And they would even cling to cones, to parking cones with a little fuzzy face on it. Because they longed for dear old mom just that much. They longed for that actual communitas, just that much. And I think that's really emblematic of where we are as a people, because as a people, we're longing for that connection, folks. We're longing for everything to just be all right. Can we just have the credits roll and everything's all right? I swear, man, when I was looking at this whole op or this memorial service, the more you watch, the stinkier it got, folks. Because if I didn't know better, I would suggest that they had canned applause, and I would suggest that this whole thing played out like a Lifetime movie, because that's really what it was reminiscent of. Kind of a Lifetime movie. I mean, nothing pulled on the heartstrings more. And it was just Lifetime movie. It was like everyone held up the cue cards and went guffaw, gasp, applaud, When Erica said she forgave the assassin. Because we already know who the assassin is. We've already neurolinguistic programmed you to who it's going to be, right? And the crowd just guffawed and broke out in applause, and it was just like a Lifetime movie. It really was. When I was watching this, I was going, man, this is kind of like I was going to say a low-budget Lifetime movie, but probably a better budget than most Lifetime movies had. I mean, it was really... had all the cues, had the oohs and the ahs, and it brought you from the depths of sadness all the way up to this moment. And people just want everything to be okay. They want it to be the way that it is portrayed on TV, man. I mean, I went over all the missing evidence. I swear to you, folks, if you watch a episode of CSI, whatever version you're watching, Miami to Bogota, whatever the bleep CSI they're on now, or I don't even know if Law and Order's still on, that crap. If you're watching any of that, I guarantee you there is more substantial, clear evidence laid out in those fake crime dramas than you are ever going to see laid out in this alleged case for Tyler Robinson. I mean, this evidence is... I'm no lawyer. It's circumstantial at best. At best, circumstantial. I mean, good night, nurse. You could not frickin'... This wouldn't pass the mustard of a Murder, She Wrote episode, folks. There's just no way in the land of make-believe that this would pass the mustard on an episode of Murder, She Wrote. No way, man. I know darn well it wouldn't pass the mustard on Matlock. This is phony from the floor up. But people are so desperate for something good, so desperate for reality to not suck. They're so, like, intrinsically now they are linking in conservatism with Christendom, which I wouldn't say is a bad thing, other than the fact that they've polluted the waters 8 days a week, twice on Sunday with this whole thing. So I would suggest it's a bad thing at this point. It's a joke. But, I mean, they're intermingling the two. They're crossing the streams a la Ghostbusters, and they're saying, oh yeah, look at all these people that have been brought to Christ thanks to Charlie Kirk. And I'm not suggesting that that's complete poo-poo. I'm thinking that's a good thing. Anyone that gets brought to Christ, in my humble opinion, no matter how you get brought to Christ, kicking and screaming through an overdose, through a death, through a murder, whatever the case may be, maybe you just fell out of bed on the wrong side and you went, aha, Christ, yeah, the way, the truth, and the life. That's real. Yeah, I'm happy if that's helping people. I really am. That is the only good thing I can see coming out of all this. But I think people are so desperate to resurrect the Americana that was intrinsically linked to Christendom that no longer exists. They're grasping at straws. They're going, oh yeah, this is all real. And look at how wonderful that even in light of this horrible atrocity, look how wonderful it is. It's brought the nation together. It's brought all these people to Christ. We got the shooter. Erica's going to be the Turning Point CEO. It's going to be great. It's all going to work out just like an episode of Murder, She Wrote in about 30 minutes. Whew. So, I'd love to hit these topics a little bit more. Maybe we'll do this on Thursday because we're a little bit over time today. We talked about Victor Turner. We talked about Harry Harlow. We talked about Arnold Van Gennep. somebody's going, I don't care. I just want to watch sports and, whatever Alex Jones says is right, I guess. So, don't go deep into the pool. Just go shallow into the pool and do whatever you got to do. But in this show, on my episodes for this show, we're going deep into the pool. So if you're not into that, away with you. Couldn't care less. Next time, I think we're going to dive a little bit deeper. We'll get into a little bit of that transition, separation, reintegration a little bit more. Because I was going to talk about that a couple shows back, even before I really kind of got shaken by the nonsensical nature of this memorial. But there's a few different angles you can look at that rite of passage. So maybe we'll look into that a little bit more next time. Mo. But until then, you can't do everything, but you can do something. Get out there, do your part, make a difference, and I'll be seeing you sooner than later in the Anomic Age.
Thank you for listening to the AnomicAge, a JohnAge project. For past shows, further info, and to comment, go to AnomicAge.com. That's AnomicAge.com. Till next time, thank you for listening to the AnomicAge.
Thank you.